All right, and we are live with another episode of Mentor Minutes, a chance for you and any leader around the world to ask questions about issues and obstacles that they're facing. I'll try to apply some of the principles and the theory behind leadership and give you some actionable steps to get you past those obstacles and on to meeting some of the goals that you have. And hey, just maybe clearing out some of the clutter and the frustrations that you might be feeling in your day-to-day work. So if you're coming to this late, not a problem. You can always drop down into the comment section. I check prior episodes to see if there's any questions I missed. And if you're checking this out on my podcast or over on YouTube, same goes for you over there. I will get it on the next episode of Mentor Minutes. Eknath Hassam, so good to see you here. So while we wait for a few people to queue up here on the Facebook Live session, I do have to start out with a question that I did receive that I didn't get a chance to get to in the last episode. And it was from Jennifer. And very quickly, employee motivation. Is it intrinsic or is it extrinsic? Are rewards a waste of time? And John, so good to see you here as well. And the answer is yes. Motivation is extrinsic and intrinsic. It's the extrinsic that often activates the intrinsic nature of motivation. And I'll tell you about that. So I might have an intrinsic desire for competition. And I do. So if you set up a contest or a reward to motivate me, I am going to respond to that. So you have activated the intrinsic quality that I have. Now, the thing is humans and people and your employees are all different. So everybody is going to have different motivational triggers. And so you want to spread, I don't want to say spread yourself thin, but spread a few different motivation techniques. The best is really intrinsic, being able to or get into that with an employee. So simply ask them, what do you find that motivates you? And you can find a list of different motivating factors for people on the job. It can be teamwork. It can be an intrinsic desire to do a good job. It can be competition. It can be reaching goals. It can be having an impact on society. Any of those things, ask your team and then roll out your rewards or your motivation techniques to address those particular areas so you're addressing the heart of the matter with each of the employees. The big mistake that people make with motivation is they do try to do some sort of incentive or reward structure, but it doesn't actually address all of the employees that are out there. John, so good to see you here and glad you like that particular topic. So motivation absolutely can be both intrinsic and extrinsic, but use the extrinsic where possible to address the intrinsic motivation. Another question I received, and I got this through private message through Facebook, but I also have received a couple here that I'm going to get to through email as well. And if you want to stay anonymous with your question, email cm@cameronmorrissey.com or just direct message me on Facebook and I'll keep you anonymous. This particular individual is in a department, and I'll leave that kind of anonymous as well. But the business grew and it expanded, and it used to be just her overseeing this department, but she was able to hire 3 supervisors. Now the issue that she's run into is every time she is away from the operation, those supervisors have nothing but problems with the employees that she had before. She's getting called in on days off, she's having to address things, and the performance simply is not there. So what I would do is I'd first get back to basics. So in this particular case, and I'll tell you it's a hotel, so I'm somewhat familiar with it, I want to make sure that you have the standard operating procedures for the top 10 things that are going to go wrong in the operation. And you probably already have these, but I want you to start referencing them. The real issue with a standard operating procedure manual is A, it's out of date, but the other thing is it's never actually referenced and never actually used. You get one when you go through training, and then it sits in your bottom drawer for the next 5 years while you're employed with that particular company. So I want you to reference these things. The other thing that I want you to do is that when you are there, I want these particular employees to see you working with the new supervisors. When you are there, when you have questions from those employees, I want you to direct them to the new supervisors. This is showing that you are supporting them, that you are one team, and that they can use them as a resource, all right? The other thing is I want you, and I suspect in this case you haven't had the hard discussion with some of these employees because they likely know what the answer is, and they're causing certain issues and causing problems. And so I want you to put them on task. Why haven't you addressed this with Cameron, assuming I'm one of the new supervisors? Why didn't you take what he said to task? Why didn't you take, that particular advice, that particular direction? I want you to have some hard conversations and figure out what is going on there. Okay, simply having those conversations with these team members, and I'll tell everybody that they're older team members, those that have been more experienced there and are used to working with this particular manager and not others. I'd lean on that experience for them, and I'd put them on point for that. Call it out, and that'll actually diminish a great number of those issues. Probably half of them will go away just by calling those out, okay? So get in touch with those standard operating procedures. Make sure people are talking in those terms on how things are done. Let the team see you working with the new supervisors and direct them to talk to those new supervisors when both parties are there. You and the supervisors are there. Direct them to the supervisors to answer their question. And then I also want you to address these issues as they come up when people are putting up some resistance in regards to new supervisors. I want you to talk about that when you get back from your day off. Okay, I hope that helps out in this particular situation. Tough situation. So I do have one more question that I do want to get to here that I think everybody can kind of resonate with. But if you have questions, drop down into the comment section. I'll just start tackling them here. But one more question that I received through email, and that is, let's see, what do you do, or how do you get out of a leadership funk? This particular leader wakes up every morning and just kind of dreads going into work, and she recognizes that part of it is she's unable to detach. She has that guilt of separating from the operation. She wants to give everybody else vacation time, but doesn't want to take time off herself. She has that guilty feeling, and I totally get it, totally have had it, and I think a lot of people can sympathize with that and have gone through a similar thing. When you find yourself in a leadership funk, the first thing that I want you to do is recognize that this is natural. It is not natural to be on some sort of leadership high constantly when you're on your job. You're going to go through those peaks and valleys as we talked about a few weeks ago. So you're going to go through that kind of emotional roller coaster. So realize, first of all, that it is natural. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to get back in touch with the basics. And by basics, I mean your purpose and the organization's purpose. All right? Why did you accept this leadership role? Why did you choose to be a leader? I doubt it was because of the money and the fame that goes along with that particular role. And you'll see that I'm laughing with that. All right? Money might be great, but really it's the responsibility and the control and the impact that you can have on the operation that I find motivates most leaders that are out there. So get in touch with your purpose, why you accepted this role as a leader. Also, get in touch with the purpose behind your organization. What is it that you do? What value do you bring to the community, to mankind? All of those sorts of things. I know in this particular case that you run a very important operation as far as rounding out the overall well-being of the community that you happen to be in. All right, so get in touch with those purposes. It's natural. Get in touch with purpose. And then the third thing to do is actually focus on the stuff that is outside of work. All right, too often we're looking for that work-life balance equation. All right, and we're focused on this. But the thing is if you can get life right, it makes everything easier from a work perspective. Think about when you've come back from a great weekend. Well, you just had fun. It was, your football team won. You went out with friends on Saturday. You had a picnic on Saturday. You spent lots of good quality time with the kids. One of your kids hit a home run, whatever it happens to be. You had a great weekend. You come back with energy on Monday. Okay? Life definitely affects the work aspect of things. So if you're in a leadership funk, make sure that you're getting your life right. In this particular case, you've actually kind of addressed it already. You're feeling a little bit burnt out. And what I want you to do is I just want you to bring a little bit of focus to your free time. What is it that you like to do? Do you like going out to movies? Do you like trying new restaurants? Do you like cooking new dishes? Do you like going to Barnes & Noble and browsing the magazine and the book racks? What do you like to go shopping, window shopping, whatever it happens to be that you like to do? I want you to put some focus on doing that in your free time. Too often we tend to coast with our free time. We tend to veg out, and there's a time for that, don't get me wrong. But if you bring more quality time to your personal time, you're going to see that reflected a little bit in your work life as well. So that's my big challenge to you. So realize that it's natural to go through ups and downs. Get in touch with those priorities, your purpose behind why you do it and why the organization exists. And then I want you to really focus on doing better in your free time. Now, you mentioned you have a goal of a half marathon. What little step that you can take to do that? You know, personal goals are a great way to, I want to say distract you, but actually bring more energy back to your work life. What are those goals? What's the one simple step that you can take? The simplest thing that you can do. Do that, and then that'll start moving things forward. All right, I hope that helps out. Yee, Lawrence, good to see you here as well. Got a couple of questions here. Gerald will start us out here, and that is how to deal with an employer who always focuses on finding who to blame when prioritizing for the solution in every problem. Part of, and I don't know that I necessarily off the top of my head, if you have an employer who is looking to blame first and foremost, that's what they're, to blame then prioritizing the solution. Okay, so they're really focused on blame. And that's fine, okay? Knowing who does it isn't necessarily the wrong thing to do, all right, Gerald? But I want you to really focus on, man, I'm looking for that way to kind of change that employer's mindset, and I'm not coming up with an easy and quick way to do that. What I'm really focusing on here is what's coming to mind is dealing with the problem yourself, showing them the way, all right? Hey, here's the problem. What are we going to do about it? All right, what's the solution? All right, really focusing on that. I want to say don't give them any air. Well, who's to blame? You know what? We can figure that out later. How about we find the solution and then we figure out who's to blame for it later? All right? So maybe you try to flip it like that, but you've already referenced it. You want to be solution focused. You want to be action focused. Maybe one of the cheat ways of doing that and getting them focused on a solution is what is the simple action that you can take to start working towards that solution? Hey, we've got a problem with sales. Sales fell off yesterday. What's going on? Well, let me pull the reports first and foremost on the sales day and see what happened, where the sales distribution was, that sort of thing, and see if we have something going on. Let me also check for today and see how sales are trending or something like that. So you're pulling more information in. That's the first step in finding the solution. What is the smallest, simplest step that you can take and you can get them focused on? It's kind of almost like, you know, the cartoon, my goodness, the Pixar film Up, you know, you have that dog squirrel, you know, you want to get them focused on action. That gets them focused on the solution and thinking forward. You can always come back to it later. And that's what I think maybe you really focus on is, hey, no problem. We will find out who is responsible for this, but I want to make sure that we get some things going first while we work on that. So talk about action and start with simple actions that can be taken and try to get that focus on a solution as opposed to just the blame. All right, and just instituting that conversation to start out with, Gerald, I hope will help. Let me know if that resonates or if there's anything more to that. We can kind of talk that through and see, because I know that everybody deals with that at one point, a boss who's more interested in finding the culprit as opposed to the solution to a particular problem. Mahmoud's got our next question. It's how to plan for team in an ad hoc based environment where I'm receiving plenty of ad hoc tasks from upper management, which affects my ability in following previously planned projects. Mahmoud, the way that you do this is the way that everybody out there plans their day. All right, make sure if you planned your day, I'll just go through the what if scenario. If you planned your day and you scheduled meetings, 8 hours for your day, back-to-back meetings, 8 hours a day, would you get, how many problems would you create? All right, all kinds, because you know that you're going to have something come up. A priority is going to get juggled, whatever that is. Mahmoud, what you need to do is you need to create a buffer. I say when you're planning out your day, when we talk time management, I talk about scheduling your emergencies. You don't know what's going to come up in the morning, but you know something is going to come up. So plan for an hour from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning to deal with it. Plan for another hour between 2:30 and 3:30 in the afternoon because you know something is going to come up then. If nothing comes up, well then fine, get back to some of your other priorities. all right? And if it comes up at a different time, well, that's fine. That's where you can put your other things. So you can move them into that 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock hour. Schedule your emergencies. Mahmoud, for you, you need to plan to only have 80 to 90% of your team available at any one particular time, because you do have that ad hoc stuff that comes in. And what you do is you make your main priorities and your main plans flexible in certain areas so that you can flex into that time. So it may be that you only plan 80% of your team to be active, but then 10% of your team is on ad hoc, but 10% has nothing to do. Move that 10% into the main plan. What can you do? What flexibility can you have to structure your main priorities so that they can be flexible with the ad hoc environment? You are scheduling your emergencies, shall we say. As far as project planning, this comes in all the time, where if you schedule your timelines for everything to go perfect, you're going to fail. You need to schedule some contingency time, and you need to do the same thing. Don't have your entire team scheduled, planned to be working on one particular thing. Hey, if you don't have any ad hoc stuff come up this week, then great. Hopefully you can make more forward progress on the other things that are going on for the planned projects. And that's one thing that you need to look to do as well. If you're not ahead of schedule, you're likely behind schedule. So get ahead so that you can deal with the more ad hoc stuff that comes along. I hope that helps out, Mahmoud. Lawrence Yee, Fatma, good to see you here. I am caught up on questions now, so if you have a question out there in the Facebook sphere, then go ahead, drop down into the comment section. I will answer it in real time. There is one thing that I wanted to mention. I reviewed the book, The One Thing, recently. Very fun book, and if you haven't checked it out, it's absolutely worth reading. An absolutely amazing book. But one thing, I keep saying that, that I have used with coaching clients as far as getting over procrastination. All right, one of the ways that we deal with procrastinate is we plan. We go into hyper planning mode, and we don't get started until our plan is complete and it's perfect, and we've got it all bound up in a little folder and it looks all pretty. We do all of that perfection stuff as a means of procrastination. And when you start out your day, or when you start out your plan, the question is, what is one action that I can take? One simple thing to get the ball rolling. It may be scheduling a meeting. We use this with when you come out of a meeting and you have takeaways. What is the one thing that you can do to get the ball rolling when you leave that meeting? What email can you send? What report can you pull? What conversation can you have with one of your team members? What tasks can you assign? If you want to get past your procrastination, then actually act. But you don't need to take the huge action. We use that as the excuse for not doing anything. You can take a simple, small action. What is the smallest thing that you know that you're going to need to do? You can do this before you have even formulated the full plan. You may not know what you need to do 2 weeks from now, but you know what the next step is. You need to schedule a meeting to bring everybody together to start talking about it. You may not even have all of the agenda put together of what you need to talk about, but you can schedule the meeting and then pull that together in the meantime. Too many times we are waiting for perfection. We are waiting for all the information to take a particular action, and there's an excuse with that. Naturally, you can bring that up as an excuse, but that actually slows us down. We can schedule it in anticipation of having the information, and more often than not, you're going to get that information. So if you find yourself struggling with procrastination, the question I have for you is, what is the one small, simple action that you can take? Pulling the report, scheduling the meeting, making the phone call, all right? All of those little things you know you're going to have to do it now. There's no reason not to. It's small, it's simple, and it gets the ball rolling. And once that ball is rolling, it's easier to keep it rolling than it is to stop it. And that's one of those keys to getting more production out of your day for yourself. And you can also roll this out to your team as well. So just a little tidbit there that I should have thrown into my book discussion about the one thing is how you can use that one thing concept over and over and over again. Rick, Jocko, so good to see you here. So I'm all caught up on questions. If you have a question, drop it down into the comment section. I'm going to go on a little 10 or 15 second spiel here, so you've got that much time to get this in. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, I'll put the links up here soon after I get off of this live session. I'll go ahead and include the links there. Love to have you tune into the podcast. I'd love to have you join me on YouTube as well. Lots of great videos that I have over there. You can catch up on all of the past episodes. And the reason I do these is to provide a level of support for leaders that are out there who have some practical questions. But for everybody else, even if you don't have a question, this is a great chance to exercise your leadership mind, to get thinking about problems and issues with leadership. You know, learning from your mistakes is great, but learning from other people's mistakes and other people's struggles is way, way better. And this gives you that opportunity to learn from the struggles that other people are having so that you have your answers ready to go. And you'd be surprised how many corollaries there are between other issues that don't have anything to do with you and what you may be dealing with in another particular facet of the operation. So if you come to this late, if you still have any, oh, there we go. Melissa, it always happens just as I'm about to sign off. Good, Melissa, you got this one in there. So I'm an exempt manager. I work 50 plus hours a week. I was scheduled 10 days straight over a 2-week period, normally 10-hour shift now from work, but left early because I was in pain from working with no day off. Should I have to make it up on my day off? No. The quick answer is no, Melissa. You shouldn't have to make it up on your day off. As an exempt manager, you have that flexibility. So the flexibility goes both ways. You will be expected, quite frankly, to come in on days off when certain things are happening, but you will also have the flexibility of not coming in on your days off or perhaps leaving early, just like this. That's where that comes in. The key is that the work is getting done. How long it takes to get that work done is always the struggle. And it usually, don't get me wrong, it usually errs on the side of you working more than you working less. But no, you don't have to come in on your day off. That's part of being that exempt manager. You can leave early when the work is done, and I encourage you to do that, to take some of that time occasionally, because that makes up for working 10 days straight, working 10-hour shifts, and working on days off. So being able to take that time is something that, should they take a sick day, that you shouldn't have to do. No, you wouldn't need to take a sick day if it's your day off. I wouldn't look to take a sick day, and I wouldn't look to take a sick day if you had been working that hard. If you're working 10 days straight, then you know what? Okay, so great, you only worked 9.5 days straight. You worked 10-hour days. Okay, so you lost 5 hours on one of those days. This is one of those things where it's a balancing act. That exempt status, yes, don't get me wrong, it absolutely is in favor of the employer most of the time, all right? But it shouldn't exclusively be in the favor of the employer, all right? In this case, I wouldn't look to take a sick day. I wouldn't look to come in on your day off. It seems reasonable unless it is some sort of emergency. And again, that gets back into that whole, the reason that you're exempt is because of that flexibility on that high side. So I hope that helps, Melissa. Sorry that you got worked into the ground like that. Mahmoud has another question for me, and I have a team and we are working on 2 lines of business, so I was planning to divide the team. And that works fine, Mahmoud. Getting back to your other question about ad hoc items and being able to plan the team environment, that's fine. You might split the team into 2 50% aspects, but you only plan those teams in 2 40% aspects. But if you're looking for an ad hoc team, yeah, it depends. You would have a better feel for your business as to whether that would work. So if you're looking to take, say, 80% of the team and they are focused on this project and it's the 20% that works on the ad hoc, that might make more sense for you. And I can see a benefit to that. However, again, you want to have that flexibility, especially for the ad hoc team, to be able to support the project where it's applicable. So I wouldn't be averse to splitting that off. I'd just make sure that you are planning the project so that you have the flexibility of utilizing all the resources when those resources are available. And Melissa, if they are forcing you to take a sick day, then they are forcing you to take a sick day. You know, I don't pretend to get into employment law and whether that's right or wrong. I believe that's actually in their window of they're allowed to do that. I don't like it. You know, I might, you know, you probably have already brought this up, but then that is what it is. And that's just something that you're going to have to take as far as the position is concerned. All right. There are going to be ugly moments in these positions, especially in leadership. You end up being in an exempt status most of the time. And so that tends to lend itself towards, I don't want to say abuse, but a little bit of abuse by the employer. That's part of nature of the beast. But where it gets too far to one side, then you have to take a hard look at some of those things. So no, I wouldn't have charged you a sick day or forced you to come in on your day off. But if they are, then that's the way that it is. And it may be, Melissa, that they are doing that from a fairness standpoint. There are dynamics where some people will take advantage of that exempt status. And so they need to institute policies that make sure that it's not being taken advantage of by other individuals who are peers of yours. And don't necessarily like that as a way to address it. But if that's the way that it is, that's the way that it is. Books, training materials, recommendations for first-time managers. My biggest recommendation for first-time managers is, yeah, books are great. I won't get into describing which ones I might recommend for first-time managers. You know what, Mahmoud? Take a look at the books that I've been reviewing every Friday. You'll see them in the video section here. I have reviewed Peaks and Valleys, Radical Candor, Extreme Ownership, The One Thing. Tomorrow, I'm dealing with Who Moved My Cheese. Those are all great books to look into and getting them in the habit of reading. What I recommend most, though, for first-time managers is actually to just ask questions. They need to get out of the common misperception in leadership is that you have all of the answers. And that's the worst place to be, and it's where most new leaders make their first misstep, is the belief that they're supposed to have all of the answers. So what I want you to do is I want you to encourage them to ask questions of their team. Okay? So have them sit down with every member of their team and ask 5 questions. What do you see going right in the operation? What do you see going wrong in the operation? Where are there opportunities we need to take advantage of? Where are there problems we need to fix? And how can I help you do your job better? Even if they come up through the ranks, just flipping that script around so that they are asking questions and seeking information from their team is one of the biggest things that they can do to starting out on the right foot. The other thing is when they move up into that level of leadership, they see things from a different perspective, and people that they worked with before will interact with them differently. And they can take that feedback and find what to act on in regards to it. So I might say, if you want a book recommendation, go with Extreme Ownership. That'll be kind of the splash of water in their face. Right now, it's a recent book, a fun book, an interesting book for people to take on. But that would be the one that I would recommend. You can always come back for more, but take a look at the books that I've been reviewing, because I'm starting out with some really good ones and some ones that I really like out there. I hope that helps you, Mahmoud. As far as everything else goes, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for today. Tomorrow, I will be on at noon Pacific Standard Time. Again, noon Pacific Standard Time, and we'll be reviewing the book that I actually had all of my supervisors read. The last decade of my career, I had every supervisor that I had read the book Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. Fantastic, short hour, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And if you have any questions, drop down in the comments, private message me on Facebook, shoot me an email, cm@cameronmorrissey.com, and I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.